Hey everybody, it's James from Wealthquest. Hey, last week we talked about this idea of spring coming and how we're all kind of filled with this new energy. And one of the things I talked about in that video was the idea of using that energy to do some financial spring cleaning. And as we should have expected, we got some questions around, well, so how do I do that? I've got boxes of financial statements and old tax data and records that I've been keeping in my basement. And so I'd love to clean them out, but I don't even know what to do with them. What do I need to keep? What do I need to get rid of? And there's not an easy answer to that question, but it's a great question. And we got to make sure that we help people with figuring out what all these things mean and what needs to be retained and what we can just shred. A couple of rules of thumb that'll help you. There's clearly lots of documents that always need to be kept, and those are pretty obvious. Things like your birth certificate and your passport and all those things, obviously, that's pretty clean. But when it comes to things like tax data and financial statements, that's where most people end up just collecting these giant piles and files that go back maybe 20, 30, or even more years, and they don't know if they can ever get rid of them. The answer is you can. For the most part, you're able to shred and get rid of the vast majority of those records once they're about 7 years old. Anything beyond that is really not something that's going to apply. The IRS is not going to come back and ask questions generally beyond that. Sometimes there's data in there that we need, and we need to kind of fish out what those things are, like if you made a big business purchase or you bought a stock that you've held forever and you have the tax return from some of that information. Those are valuable pieces of data for us to have, but for the most part, you don't need all that stuff. And it's a beautiful freedom when you can clean all those boxes out and you can make room not only physically in your basement, but also just mentally to have all that clutter out of your way, because a lot of times we carry around a little bit of a weight that feels like we need to make sure we know where all that stuff is, even though it's a mess. We're not 100% sure where to pinpoint which year's tax return is in which box, and it starts to just be this thing that's in the back of our heads that we're unorganized. And so it's easier a lot of times to just purge all that stuff and clean it up. What we've done in order to help you with that is we've put together a blog post that gives you a list of all the things that you need to retain and for how long you should hang on to them. And it's a pretty exhaustive list. It goes into a pretty deep dive into all the things that you might run into. And so it's a really helpful way for you to start that process of physically cleaning house so that you can also mentally get free from the burden that it gives you. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and click on the link in this post. It'll take you to that blog post. It'll give you all the information that we've laid out there. And you can also subscribe to our blog there, where we'll continue to be sending you things like these videos and other information that we provide to our clients. One last piece that I wanted to give you a heads up on. For our clients at Wealthquest, one thing we're going to be doing this summer, maybe this fall, depending on the timeline, is we're going to have a big shred day. We're going to invite everybody that's done this work, that's pulled all this stuff that they don't need anymore, to come down, and we're just going to have this truck come where we can shred all that stuff and finally get rid of the weight of all of that clutter. So we look forward to helping you with that process. Hey, if you guys have enjoyed these videos, please continue to comment and send us questions. Keep giving us ideas of what you want us to be talking about. We really enjoy engaging these conversations and helping you wherever we can. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.